Oh my gosh, we're back. Wait a minute, wrong video series. It's the sometime. Wait a minute. Magic Kingdom? Wrong park. I'm not supposed to be in the Magic Kingdom today. I'm supposed to be over at Epcot. Well, there's only one acceptable solution to this problem. What am I talking about? There are many, many acceptable solutions to this problem, but there's only one perfect solution. We just have to hurry up. We've got to head out the gate and catch ourselves a monorail. That is the best thing about Walt Disney World versus Disneyland. But there's a whole monorail system here. Here, the monorail isn't just a neat attraction to take you from downtown Disney into the park. And by the way, you have to have a park ticket to ride it. Here, the monorail is a viable form of transportation. You have the express monorail, which just goes from the parking lot to the Magic Kingdom over here. But if you're in the know, you can step over to the side and take, where's the sign? Where's the sign? You can take the resort monorail and head around the monorail loop, the loop going around the man-made Seven Seas Lagoon out there with all kinds of stops. You could stop at the Contemporary Resort, the Polynesian Resort, the Grand Floridian, and also the parking lot. Although, if you get on the resort monorail like this and head to TTC, when it's crowded, all those angry footsore hotel guests will really give you a dirty look. So I don't recommend that. Use the monorails for what they're for. Unless it's the middle of the day like this, when it's not crowded, hop on the resort monorail maybe, and head over to the TTC. I spent a lot of time thinking today, why is it that I'm fascinated with monorails, particularly Disney monorails? Like I just did a whole video in Las Vegas about that monorail and its connections to Walt Disney World. And I think I figured it out. It's because when I was a kid, we lived in Anaheim, very near the Disneyland Hotel, and to get in the park in my earliest years, what we would do is we would actually go to the hotel, scan in with our tickets there, then board the monorail and disembark in Tomorrowland, of the original Disneyland in California I'm talking about. And I think that's where the love of the monorail began. To me, Disney is synonymous with the monorail because that is how I got in the park. All right, we're gonna hop on board here and head around the monorail loop through the Contemporary Resort, excuse me, and then on to the Transportation and Ticket Center for a very good monorail-related reason. Dude, what a ride. Por favor, manténganse alejado de las puertas. Almost the only Spanish I know, just because I love the monorail that much. Please stand clear of the doors. All right, heading away from the Magic Kingdom now and over to the Contemporary Resort. It's a little bit busy on the monorail today, but that's okay. It's worth it. It's only going to be busy for the first stop or two as people depart into the various hotels. To be honest with you, I'm actually surprised that it's even this full today at this time. We're right about 3 o'clock, middle of the day. Typically speaking, I usually find that this is the least crowded time for any monorail on any of the lines, but one thing about Disney parks, these days especially, is you never can rely on there being a dead time or like a less crowded time. It just sort of is what it is. It's potluck. All right, look at that. Heading out of the Contemporary. Gonna look over here to the side. Get some last loving views of the Magic Kingdom. And then on to the parking lot. Okay. Now this is what we want. Now we are at the Transportation and Ticket Center, dude. We're at the main monorail station. There's a whole crazy monorail station where you can actually transfer to another monorail. Well, actually, 2 other monorails. You could transfer back onto the Express Magic Kingdom monorail, head directly back to the Magic Kingdom, or do what we're about to do and hop on a monorail to the park I'm supposed to be in today, Epcot. All right, look at that, though. Look at that. The monorails are a beautiful, beautiful thing. The original monorails were designed by my very good friend, Bob Gurr, the old school Walt Disney Imagineering legend. It's so cool that I've always loved the monorails, and then I got to know the creator of the original monorail. And these monorails today still use technology that Bob helped to invent and still kind of look very similar to those original early Bob Gurr designs. The monorails are awesome. They're inspiring. They fill you with this weird, I don't know, this special feeling like I'm taking a monorail today. I'm not taking a bus. I'm not walking. I'm not taking a golf cart or a tram. I'm taking a freaking monorail. Something so special about it. And you'll notice the Walt Disney Company hasn't built monorails anywhere for years. They're prohibitively expensive and all that kind of stuff. But luckily, when they were building Epcot in 1980, well, they started in the late 70s, but up into 1982 when they opened it, there was still just enough of that little Walt Disney magic left in the company that they said, forget the expense. Think of how impressive it would be if we built a monorail from the Transportation and Ticket Center here, which is where the big Magic Kingdom parking lot is, and the ticket booths, and today the security, if we built a Epcot monorail line, a monorail that goes all the way over to Epcot, connecting the monorail loop and the Magic Kingdom to a whole brand new theme park. Now, Epcot wasn't originally supposed to be a theme park. It was supposed to be the experimental prototype community of tomorrow. You know, a whole city, a whole futuristic city and stuff like that. But of course, it became a theme park. They kind of dumbed it down. After Walt was gone, they just didn't have the vision. But like I said, at least they had just enough of that Walt Disney magic left that they actually built this monorail line to Epcot. And it goes for at least a mile, miles down the road here. For whatever reason, I cannot off the cuff remember how long in terms of miles the Epcot monorail line is. I know it's about 15 minutes, and I know the whole system has around 15 miles of monorail beams. I'm sure I'm going to be driving back to a hotel later and kicking myself, but I can't remember. But the coolest thing ever happened this morning, speaking of monorails. This is what I wanted to show you this entire time over here. And actually, this is how I ended up in Magic Kingdom instead of Epcot in the first place. I actually parked the car over at Epcot this morning, and then as I was walking in, I bumped into a cast member who recognized me and was like, oh, we're talking about the monorail. I was like, have you ever been inside the cab? And I'm like, no, I haven't. Unfortunately, there was an unfortunate accident actually right here a few years ago involving some monorails, and so ever since then, guests cannot ride up in the front or in the rear compartments of the monorails themselves, because you used to be able to sit sort of in the back. You have this cool view. If you were super, super lucky and you only had 1 or 2 people with you, you could sit in the front near the driver, as you still can today in Disneyland, as a matter of fact. If you are the first up at the monorail thing and you politely ask a cast member, if you're lucky, they might say yes, they might say no, don't get upset if they don't. You can still ride in the front, in the cab, the engine of the monorail, and do the whole Disneyland thing up there. And they might tell you a little bit about the route. I don't think they usually talk while they're actually driving, but if they're stopped at the station, they might talk to you about it, maybe show you the control panel. But because that accident sort of happened right before, or right like in the very earliest days of my coming to Walt Disney World, I never got to sit up and do a cab ride here at Disney World. That just wasn't a thing anymore. So I only got a few clips, but very briefly, the cast member let me up inside the cab today just so I could see it and check it out. I'm going to leave the cast member nameless just in case. I don't want to get him in trouble if that wasn't allowed or something like that. I think it's allowed, just to give you a little peek. I even got to beep the button for the horn, which was a super, super big treat for me. And even though I'm supposed to be in Epcot hanging out with friends today and doing Epcot stuff, somehow today just turned into a monorail day for them, because once I got over to Magic Kingdom, I thought, you know what? Why not get a meal? Why not have some grub over here and turn this into a whole monorail day? All right, so now we're gonna hop on board this monorail and head over to Epcot. All right, off we go. Here's the weird thing, dude. I just Googled it. Like, I just looked it up. Like, how long is the Epcot monorail beam? And then, of course, it just said 15 minutes, 15 minutes. And then I realized I'm asking the wrong question. How far is the Epcot monorail beam? And then everything just said 15 minutes, 15 minutes. So I just looked at the map. I did a little bit of quick map looking, and it's only about 2.5 miles away. So the total has got to be somewhere in that neighborhood, which sounds right, sounds familiar to me. So somewhere in that distance. And the 2 miles, of course, is covered with the beam going along the roadside. You get to see buses, you get to see cars underneath, and it really feels like a metro line in a major city or something, that like you're actually commuting somewhere. And that's what makes the monorail here so cool, is that it feels like, you know, the one at Disneyland was just an example, something we could do in the future, and then the dream here at Walt Disney World finally became a reality. All right, then of course the coolest thing about the Epcot monorail is that once you finally get to Epcot, you will go around the Epcot loop inside the park. You're actually cruising around, seeing all the new construction, of course, at the moment, and then seeing the different features of the park. They actually designed the park with the monorail in mind. Again, that is totally how it should have been when they continued building parks out here. I hope one day Disney has a visionary enough leader that they go, you know what, we need more monorails. Oh, I just realized today is the last day of Festival of the Arts. We're getting ready for Flower and Garden now, so everything down there is getting a lot more colorful. Yes. There it is, all that construction going on at Epcot. And this is the first time I've actually ridden the monorail past the Moana Journey of Water since it's been finished and open, I think. I don't remember ever riding the Epcot monorail back here. Look at that. Wow. Actually, that'd feel good today. Getting warm outside. All right. We are about to stop at the greatest park in the Disney World, Epcot. Oh, yes. Finally, we made it. Look at the size of that station. It's gotta be big because look at the size of the crowd that gets off each and every one of these monorail cars over here. Ooh, look at that. Look at the size of that ramp. Man, that's awesome. A little piece of Walt Disney's vision actually fulfilled right here. It's easy to take for granted, oh yeah, the old monorail. And to me, that is the thing, actually, that makes Disney so special. They can build whatever new rides they want. They can put out however many films they want, and they could be amazing. They could be dumpster fires. It doesn't matter. To me, the most impressive thing about Disney in general, and especially the Disney parks, the most inspiring thing, and the thing that's going to make Epcot epic to me forever, is thinking that all of this came, or at least was inspired, by the vision of one little boy, one little farm boy out in Marceline, Missouri, who used to like to scribble and draw with crayons and pencils, or sometimes tar, on the side of the house. And let me tell you, when you've actually been out to Marceline, Missouri, and even today, there's not much going on out there, and you actually go to the Walt Disney farm, you sit under the old, well, the stump now, of the old dreaming tree where Walt used to draw, and you realize this kid who just liked to scribble and imagine and think of an escape and dream of things far away and bigger, who eventually made it to Hollywood, had all his ideas stolen from him, and then started over with a little cartoon mouse, and then wanted to delight millions and millions of people by making even more epic films, sending all his artists to Show and Art Institute and all kinds of art training and stuff like that, to eventually make the first animated full-length feature film in America, at least in color, a talkie, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. And what most people don't know, they think, Walt, corporate, money-grubbing guy. They don't realize how many of those early animated films really didn't make that much money. They weren't like these huge profit makers. And his brother Roy sitting there pulling his hair out like, oh gosh, we just gotta do something that's just gonna make money, Walt, money, Walt. But he always wanted to reinvest it into something bigger and better and crazier. And that's what he wanted to do with all of the Disney company's money towards the end here. He wanted to build an experimental prototype community of tomorrow. He wanted to build cities of the future with all of that money. And even then people are going, Walt, you're crazy, it's never gonna work. What are you thinking about pouring all of our money into cities of the future on our Disney World Florida property? And of course, Walt Disney passed away, and the bean counters sadly took over. And so Walt Disney's dream city of the future may never have actually risen out of the Florida swamp, and Disney had to become just a regular old, multi-talented, multinational conglomerate, huge entertainment corporation that delights still millions, maybe billions of people around the world. And I'm not disparaging in any way the after Walt history of the company, because of course so many talented people have led the company, and you know, tons of talented, creative, and visionary people have worked for the company, designed things for the company, and the company has built some incredible things like Epcot Center here, the theme park that eventually rose up here in the swamp instead of the city of tomorrow. But you know what? At the end of the day, I think no matter how many characters they throw at us, no matter how many new stories they throw at us, no matter how good they are, the most inspiring thing about Disney in general, and especially the parks in Disney World, is that these giant dreams all came from one little boy's dream out on that farm in Marceline as he scribbled away and drew his little characters and kept dreaming and kept dreaming and kept dreaming. And you know what? I think if Walt had lived, he just might have been able to pull off the city of tomorrow in the swamp. Probably by now it would have had to be rebuilt a few times over, but he had a way of pushing through dreams, of never stopping till he got what he wanted. There was a little bit of luck involved and a lot of bit of other people's talent, creativity, and his brother Roy's figuring out how in the world they were going to finance it and actually do it. But it all went back to that one little boy's dream. Incredible. Absolutely incredible. And now that we've done our little monorail trip, and now that I finally reached Epcot, I've got to meet up with my friends. Ooh, and I can finally say, would you look at the size of that ball? All right, gang, this wasn't a regular Random Land. This was a sometimes vlog, kind of. Usually they're more unedited, they're more off the cuff, they're more just turning the camera back and forth. I tell you what's going on. We look at something just real quick style. But today, it went totally sideways. That's the cool thing about Walt Disney World. And actually why sometimes I prefer being here alone more than being in a group, because then you have more adventures like this where you think you're going one way and then all of a sudden you're like, ooh, monorail, something shiny, and you have a completely different adventure. Today was one of those days. It's a little choppy, a little edited today. That's because we had a lot of ground to cover. But speaking of the monorail loop, and the Contemporary Resort, I just filmed a tour of the most exclusive, the most epic, the most primo suite at the Contemporary, which I genuinely think might be the best room, the coolest, most swankiest, best overall room at Walt Disney World, period. Now, the Walt Disney World has the Four Seasons. They've got the Waldorf Astoria. They've got all kinds of different themed hotels. They got the Animal Kingdom Lodge. They got so many things. So why do I think it's the best, even though it's one of the oldest hotels? Why do I think that suite is the best? You'll have to watch and find out, but I have one very good specific reason, kind of towards the middle of the video, towards the end of the video. This is an epic, epic adventure. I'm not sure if it's coming out right before this video because I'm still working on editing it, or right after. Please check that out. There's a bunch of links down below in the description, and look for the sometimes vlog logo right here. This is what it looks like. On the default pictures, that's how you'll know it's one of these, kind of walk and talk, kind of check something out. Sometimes vlog videos versus the Random Land logo, which will let you know it's one of our regular sort of Random Land adventures, little documentary style videos. That's kind of how you'll know the difference if you're sort of new here. All right, make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you ring the bell and all that junk. Make sure you like the videos, because that's how YouTube knows to suggest more to you. Because a lot of people walk up to me and they're like, dude, I have not, it still happens, seriously, every day that I've been here. Dude, I haven't seen a video of yours for a long time. I used to love watching your videos. What happened? Why don't you post videos anymore? I am posting them all the time. It's just that even the people who are subscribed and used to watch a lot in the past are not seeing them. Got to give it the thumbs up. You got to do the like and subscribe thing. I hate throwing that out because it sounds like smash the like, smash the subscribe, blah, blah, blah. But it is a fact that if you do that, they'll pop up more often. You're going to see more of what you like. Plus, it helps other people to find the videos too. Anyway, I appreciate you guys. I appreciate you all. I appreciate the likes, the subscribes, the kind comments, which, by the way, we have a lot of cool discussions going on in the Facebook group right now. And having said all that, I've done my duty, and having come with me the whole way, you've done your duty too. You can go home and sleep well. Pluto, it's Pluto! You're the man now, dog! Yes!